Okay, so we are starting today with demand. So if I talk about demand, demand is exactly the consumer's behavior as per the price. So this means how a consumer behaves as per the change in the price of the product. That is what we call as demand in economics, right? So if I say that the price of a product is increasing, right? Now, being a customer, being a person who is using a particular product at a certain price, so accordingly, we always demand less for that particular product, right? Now, similarly, if the price is decreasing, so being a consumer, I would like to demand more for that product, right? So I can exactly say that the consumer behavior with the price of the product is inversely related. Inversely related means, as I said, when the price of the product increases, the demand for that particular product goes down. And similarly, when the price of the product goes down, the demand for that particular product goes up. So we say that there is a negative relationship between how a consumer behaves with the change in the price of the product. Now, moving on to the types of demand. When I talk about types of demand, there are two types of demand we study in economics. One is called as individual demand and another is called as market demand. Now, we'll study what all these two types of demands are one by one. Now, when it comes to individual demand, I am talking about an individual's demand for a particular product. So let's say, for example, Mr. X consumes 10 chocolates of price 1 each, correct? So that is their demand. That means at price 1, they are demanding 10 chocolates. So that is their individual demand. Now, when it comes to market demand, that means I am talking about demand of all the individuals for a particular product. So for example, now I am not considering only Mr. X's consumption, but I am also considering all the people who are consuming the same chocolate with price 1 each. Okay, so when I am combining the individual's demand all together in the market at the same price, what I come up with is market demand. So for example, let's prepare a schedule for your individual demand and for your market demand as well. Now, how to prepare it? So first of all, I'll consider the chocolates, price and demand. So this particular demand schedule is for Mr. X, right? So let's say at price 1, their demand is 10 and at price 2, their demand is 5. Now, why I am decreasing the demand of the product? Because of the increase in the price. Just the way I said, the movement your price changes, there is a certain behavior we see in the consumer's demand as well, right? So as I said, there is a negative relationship between the demand and the price of the product. Therefore, when I'm increasing the price, the demand for that certain product is decreasing. Now, when it comes to market demand, like Mr. X, there are so many people who are consuming this same chocolate at the same price in the market, right? So let's say I'll talk about Mr. X, I'm talking about Mr. Y, and I'm also talking about Mr. Z, right? Now let's see their different price and the demands altogether. So here is the price, here is the demand, here is the price for Y, and here is the demand for Mr. Y, here is the price for Mr. X and the demand for Mr. X. Now let's say at one price, their demand is 2, and at 2 price, their demand is 1. Now moving on to again the same price, let's say Y was consuming 5 and then he moved to 4. Now similarly with the same prices, it was 3 and it had turned out to be 2. Now if I have to consider the market demand for Mr. X, Mr. V, Mr. Z, so in that case, what I have to do is I have to combine all the demands altogether of all the individuals. So here Mr. X plus Mr. Y plus Mr. Z's demand will be calculated. So it will be how much? 2 plus 5 plus 3. So 2 plus 5 plus 3. How much? 10. Now moving on to the next, 1 plus 4 plus 2. How much? 1 plus 4 plus 2. It's 7. Clear? So that's how we have considered the market demand for chocolates, and we have also considered the individual demand for chocolate. Now, we are moving on to a particular curve now. Now, when we consider the demand curve, we just have to plot over a graph. Now, when we are plotting over a graph, always on y-axis we consider the price of the product, and on x-axis we consider the demand of the product, right? Now here if you see, the price is 1 and 2. Let's say I'm making it 3 and 4 here too. But when it comes to demand, it starts with 5 and 10, then 15, then 20 and so on, correct? Now let's plot it on price 1. Your demand is 10. So somewhere over here. And when it comes to 2, the demand is 5. So somewhere over here. So when I am combining these 2 points, what I get is my demand curve. Clear? Now let's see what we get out of the market demand curve. So here I have to consider the demand as 10 and 7 and the price as 1 and 2. So as I said, on y-axis we always consider the prices, and on x-axis we always consider the demand. So prices are 1, 2, 3 and let's say 4. So here it's a gap of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 and so on. Now if I have to plot, how will I plot? At price 1, your demand is how much? Approx 10, somewhere over here. And when it comes to 2, your demand is 7, somewhere over here. So when I'm joining these 2 points, what I get is my market demand curve. So that's how, with the help of a schedule, you can prepare a curve. Now, a very important question, that is why the shape of your demand curve is downward sloping. Very important point. Now, why this is downward sloping? The reason is there is a negative relationship between the price and the demand of the product, as we have already discussed. So if I have to make a relationship, it's like if the price was 2, the demand was 7. Agree? And in case when the price reduces to 1, the demand comes out to be 10. Agree? Now what we can see is, if the price is reducing, my demand ultimately is increasing. So that is why, because of the inverse relationship, because of the negative relationship between the price and demand of the product, that basically is called as downward sloping demand curve. Okay, now moving on to the next topic, that means what are the factors affecting the demand of the product. This is also a very important topic to cover in economics. We talk about what are the various determinants of a demand, what are the various factors that affect the demand of a product. So as we know, whenever it comes to a consumer behavior, there are lots of things which a particular consumer considers while going for that particular buying of a product, right? So that is why there are numerous numbers of factors. We'll be considering it one by one. Now, first of all is the price of the commodity. Now, this particular concept we have just spoke about. When it comes to the price, the demand for the particular product keeps on changing. As I said, there is a negative relationship, as if the price increases, the demand decreases. And if the price decreases, the demand increases. So that is how, when there is a change in the price of the commodity, that do have an effect on the demand of the product as well. Now, moving on to the second effect, if I talk about the income of the consumer. Obviously, whenever your income increases, you do not think of price much, right? So in that context, even if the price of the product increases and simultaneously the income of the consumer is also increasing, he will still try to demand the product as per his needs. So here, when I'm talking about the income and the relationship of demand of a product, there is a positive relationship. How come this is a positive relationship? When your income increases, you tend to buy more, so your demand increases. And similarly, when your income decreases, you tend to demand less. That means, as per your income, you are giving a positive response towards the demand of a specific product. That's why I said that there is a positive relationship between your income and demand. Now, moving on to the third factor, that is called as season and weather. Now, when it comes to season and weather, we know when that particular product is in a season or it's a seasonal product, the demand for that product obviously will go higher. So let's say if I talk about any of the vegetable or fruit which is available in that particular season only, let's say if I talk about mangoes. So mango supply is available for a limited duration of time. So this is a seasonal fruit. So when it's a seasonal fruit, obviously people will demand more of that product, right? Irrespective of your price. So in this case, when your season is in favor of a particular product, let's say, the demand in that case will be increased. But when your season is against that particular product. Let's say if I talk about umbrella, right? So obviously the demand for umbrellas will not be there when it's winters, because what's the use, correct? So that is why whenever your weather, your season is against that particular product, the demand for the product goes down. So that is how your season and weather do affect the demand of a particular product in a market. Then next, it's about price of substitute goods. Now first of all, let's understand what is substitute goods all about. Now, substitute goods are the goods which have a similar physical appearance, but to some extent they give a same level of satisfaction. So that means maybe your product do look alike, their branding might be different, somewhere their presentation might be different, but that gives the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. So for example, if I talk about pen and pencil, so we use pen always for writing, and we use pencil also for writing only. So if in case I do not have pen available, what I can do is I can go with the pencil. So my purpose is solved. So that is why I am considering pencil as a substitute for pen, or either pen as a substitute for pencil. Now, how does the price of the substitute good affects the demand of the other product? So let's say I am using a pen, correct? And I have a substitute available in the market, that is pencil. So what I'll do is I'll consider the price of pencil in comparison to the demand of pen. As I said, I am using pen, so I have to